Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Halloween edition of Disney Inside Out podcast. I'm excited to drop this little interview in this week. So, this is a special surprise guest with a little Halloween theme. We've got Jason Marsden on the podcast today. Jason Marsden, if you don't know him, actually, you do know him, you just might not know it yet. Jason has been in tons of Disney projects. Anything 90s television, you've probably seen it. Step by Step, Full House, Boy Meets World. It just goes on and on. Two major projects, and we've talked about them on the podcast. He was the voice of Max in a Goofy movie and the voice of Thackery Binx in a Hocus Pocus. And we get to learn all about his experience with both those films in this fun interview. So here is Jason Marsden, also known as Mars. All right, welcome Mars to the show. Hello, how are you?
What's happening, Ryan? How you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
Great, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you. Sort of Disney legend in your own right. All these Disney things you have been a part of. I mean,
Oh, thanks. Thanks,
it,
thanks, thanks.
it's pretty amazing. I was going through like you've done so many television shows and been a voice for so many things. It's like, how did you get started in the acting world? We'll start with that.
Sure. Well, it's been over 30 years now. I'm hitting 3 decades, and some things I'm working on are like, this show's 30 years old. And I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah, it's jarring a bit. I started when I was 11, 12, when my folks relocated us from Rhode Island to Los Angeles. My stepfather had a job teaching ballet at Fullerton College, and then while we were there, people were like, "Oh, your son's cute. You should get him into acting. Or it's Hollywood. That's what you do." And my mother found a workshop in Irvine, California, and they took me to that. It was like after school. It was like it was every Thursday from like 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. And
Yeah.
it was all ages. It was like, me being 11, there was a couple of the kids my age, and then there was, up to like people in their 70s. And we worked on, they taught us everything from commercial reads to theatrical reads, technical things, behind the camera stuff. And then after about no, we did like 12 weeks of that. They sent me to an agent. An agent started to saturate me in auditions, and immediately started going out for TV, movies, voiceover,
Yeah.
and I don't know, maybe right place, right time, maybe a little bit of talent. I don't know,
Oh,
but that's that.
definitely
That's what,
talent.
I don't know. I look back at some of my earlier stuff. I'm like, oh man, when are you going to figure it out? But
Right. Do you ever look back? Do you ever watch or listen things? And I mean, they're so great, but do you personally ever watch or listen and you're like, oh, I want to do that again because I would have done this or like,
oh yeah, I mean not everything, but like Hocus Pocus, that's definitely something I'm like, I wish I could do that again. It was such a tricky thing to dub uh,
right.
something else that was already finished, and I sometimes I'll watch the movie. I'm like, man, am I doing an Australian accent? What is going on here?
Right. But it's so great. And I mean, speaking of Hocus Pocus, since we're
Yes,
heading into Halloween, everybody's favorite Halloween movie. If it's not, it should be because it's just fantastic.
yes. This is the year. My joke is that this is the year that this is the time of year where everyone starts sending me pictures of their television. Like, look what I'm
Right.
watching. Look what I'm watching,
I'm
Margaret.
watching you. So, do you remember? I know the way you got into the Hocus Pocus movie is sort of an interesting story. So, how
Yes.
did you sort of become the voice of Thackery Binx?
Well, it was. I had auditioned just like everybody else. I wasn't obviously the first choice. Sean Murray, the amazing Sean Murray, was hired to play Human Thackeray and do the voice. And the movie was like 85% complete.
Right.
And this happens all the time in movies. You have a lot of money, a lot of people, giving their opinions, and they wanted something different. So I think Sean was using his own voice. There's a story going around that because he was born in Australia, there was a slight Australian accent. I don't remember it like that. He was just using his own voice. It just sounded very valley, very contemporary. It was decided that Binx, being 300 years old from colonial Salem, should have a little bit more of an old world sort of sound. So that's what I was fed when I auditioned for it, and that's how I did it. So I
And
had to.
how did you find the voice for Thackery Binx? Like, did you have to work with dialect, or did you just sort of be like, "This is what I feel"? Like, how did you sort of come up with the sound? Because he does have a great, or you have a great voice, and he does the character as he has such a great voice. So I'm wondering
Thank
how
you.
you came up with the sound.
I should have gotten a dialogue coach, a dialect coach. That would have helped tremendously. No, they just explained it to me. I don't think there was even a photograph. On the callback, I remember meeting with Kenny Ortega, who directed Hocus Pocus, and um, gosh, it's been so long. I mean, I think they just fed me the information, and I just sort of went with it, sort of an old world sort of sound, not quite full on British, definitely, the family immigrated from England, maybe Ireland, and uh,
Right.
and just and kind of fell into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how
No,
most of
it's
these things just happen.
yeah. And were there any sort of, do you recall any like changes to the script or rewrites as you're working through it about Thackeray, or things you got, or was it pretty much as we see it? That's what
Oh
was
no,
written.
as you see, like I said, it was like 80, the movie was 85% done. It was already cut together. Most of the effects were done. Most of Binks was animated already. It was very, and that's what was tricky because it was animated to Sean's performance, and Sean, um, just has a different rhythm than I do. So I had to adapt mind what I would have naturally done to fit into his mouth flap. There was like maybe a couple lines I can't even remember what they are, but there was a couple lines that weren't where Binks's lip animation was not complete that I could kind of make it my
Right.
own. That could animate around to me, but most of it was already done.
And was it challenging to go back as a human form? Were you having to watch him on screen and try to match your words like to his mouth because they had already filmed it when Thackeray Binks was
Yes and
human?
no. I mean, like, I will say, like ADR, which was the process that we used, is always came very easily to me. It's like a
Okay.
game in a way,
Yeah.
and it was probably a little bit easier because when Binks was being shown to me, it was mostly like wire work, like digital wire work. We've seen that early stages of digital, um, and um, and I can't. I need to remember his name. The gentleman who was in charge of Binks, who was animating him, was very very particular, like down to the frame. And I would do a take, and I think I nailed it. And he's like, "No, you're 2 frames off. Let's try again." Like he was very particular, not in like an annoying way. Like I totally got it, but just to show the care that went into this character. I think it was the first time they applied CG to animating an animal's face, mixed with
Right.
live action. Yeah.
Were there any lines or a particular line that you remember that was like really hard to just record or get? Like you're just like, I just can't get that one right.
It's been like this way for years. When he's talking with the kids in the graveyard, and he's explaining what happened to his sister, and I think I'm getting the line wrong, but something about it was like this way for years. So you can even hear it in that was the take. I'm like, it sounds Australian. Went years. Yeah, well, we had some barbecue. We went down
Right.
under.
Yeah.
That's when we saw the witches. It took years. Um, I think that's the only one because again, I didn't have a dialect coach, and we
Right.
were all. I mean, no one corrected me. We were just kind of like trying to feel out just that word. Years, years. Like, how do you get that romance and that flow
Yeah.
into that word? But that's about it. Everything else is
Yeah.
kind of like I said. It kind of comes easy to me.
Now, when the movie was over and it premiered and everything, obviously you didn't get to really work with the cast because you were just doing a voice.
Yes, yes.
So, did you meet any of the cast? Do you keep in touch with anyone? I'm sure because you all have this connection of this great
Sure.
movie, but you didn't actually really get to work with
No, it's
anybody, I'm
funny because
sure.
now I get invited to these things with like I'm doing a virtual meet and reunion with everybody, and I joke that it's like going to a high school reunion even though you went to the school for like a day,
Right.
you know. It's interesting. I Before I even worked on the movie, I was working on Boy Meets World on the Disney lot next
Yeah.
door to where they were shooting Hocus Pocus, and I knew Omri. I knew Omri from we did a show together called Erie, Indiana,
Right.
and I knew Vanessa Shaw because we had a mutual friend, Jonathan Brandis, that she did a movie with, and he was my best friend. And so I would go over and visit them on the set. And I was trying not to be, intrusive, but I was there on the set when they were shooting the witch's house, which was spectacular. I mean, you couldn't believe it's
Yeah.
on a set. The scene where Sarah Sanderson is like running, with her cloak, like gracefully goes across the camera, and she goes towards the house. I was there for that shot, and I was there when Bet as Winifred is on the broom driving, flying alongside the kids, well, Omri and Vanessa, while they're
Oh,
in the car, which was
yeah.
just like a mock-up of a car in
Right.
front of a projection screen. I was there for that, just saying hello when I could. They were all working, but
Right.
I do keep in touch with Vanessa and Omri now. And I mean, Omri just kind of he did the right thing. Like he left the business and like became an entrepreneur. I mean, we all should have done that, for our
Right.
sanity. But he's living his best life. But now he's kind of doing the the appearance thing. And I've been messaging him on Instagram, and we're just like we're anxious to catch up. I mean, it was I had a lot of fun working with him on Erie. That's kind of like because that was a great time for me, and
Yeah.
that was his show. He had he and Justin welcomed me like I was there since day one.
One of the great things about Hocus Pocus is how it's sort of lived on, and there's so many fans. Do people come up to you and speak to you like Thackery Binks, or what do they shout? Do they say stuff from the movie to you when they recognize you?
That's so funny. Yeah, no, nobody shouts at me like Binks. I get more like people like, "Oh, I love a Goofy movie. Hey,
Yeah.
how's it going, son?" And they'll talk like Goofy, and they'll do their best,
Right.
their best Goofy. It's not quite
No.
there, and you have to nod and be like, "That's amazing." But but no, the constant thing I get is, "Oh, we just got a black cat named him Binks." So
Oh,
there's millions of cats in the United States, around the world probably, that have one
right.
name.
One name, Binks, inspired by
That's it.
you.
Yeah.
Now speaking of Goofy movie, so Hocus Pocus was 93, I think, and a Goofy movie came after.
Sure. I can't remember.
Yeah,
You know
I
better
know
than I
they all
would.
kind of blur. But Goofy movie, so did Hocus Pocus, did any of that sort of get you into Goofy movie? I mean, you were already a big part of the Disney family anyway. So how did you sort of find your way into Goofy movie and playing Max?
Again, it's just an audition. Not to demystify the business, but it is a
Yeah.
business. And I as much as I worked for Disney, actors were all freelance actors. It's case by case. We're not contract players. But I was fortunate enough in the '90s that I did work a bunch, and I did have some saturation. People were aware of me. Um, and when a Goofy movie came along, it was just an audition. I came in, I read, I did my best. I was aware of Goof Troop. I knew that it was the amazing Dana Hill, who I revere, who was voicing Max in Goof Troop. And for the movie, I know that they just wanted, like, I think, a natural male sound instead of a woman doing
Right.
a boy sound. And I did my best, and they liked it.
Were there a lot of changes to that movie as it was being made? Was it different than kind of what we see, or anything you remember that was different about the story or scenes?
Sure. The thing that changed constantly was kind of what Bill had to deal with. Actually, Bill Farmer, who's the voice of Goofy, they had talked about getting Steve Martin
Oh,
instead of
wow.
Bill, having a celebrity do it. Um, One time I came in and Bill was instructed not to do the sort of the round, sort of goofy voice, but he was using his own voice. And Bill has, he's from Kansas. He's got this very natural sort of delivery like that. So they tried it like that, and it was kind of bland, But so I felt bad for Bill. Bill is a trooper, and this is, I explain this when everyone expresses a desire to get into voice acting. Like, there's acting is involved. And if Bill wasn't such a great actor, I know that people think, oh, Goofy, Mickey, Donald, I mean, no, you have to be a performer to do
Right.
those voices and give the producers what they want. So that was a change. Jim Cummings, when I came into work one day, and it wasn't Jim doing Pete, it was Earl Bowen, who
Oh,
people would know from the Terminator movies, the Doctor, the Terminator movies. They were just trying different things. I don't know. I don't think anyone like brought in another actor for me. I hope not. I don't know. But that was about it. I can't remember any specific scenes. All the hardcore stuff that I remember doing is in the movie that you see.
And you all got to record together, it sounds like,
Yeah,
for the most
that
part,
was
which is
great.
rare. Yeah.
It is rare, especially today. But I was with Billy every day, and I think we recorded uh, like a few times a week, couple times a week for a course of a year almost. But it was always with me and Bill, and then if I'm doing scenes with PJ, it was me and Rob and Pauly Shore. I got to work with Pauly Shore.
Oh, that would've been fun.
Yes, it was a lot of fun because he was like a big star. Well, he is a
Yeah.
big star, but that was like the height of his stardom at the time, and he was really
Yeah.
cool. I joke, I text him because people will bring me a Goofy movie poster or DVD that they want autographed, and he's already signed it, but he'll sign the entire front,
Right.
and I'll take a picture. I'm like, dude, give some room for the rest of us. He's
Right.
like, sorry, bro.
Right? Sounds just like him. Now, in doing so much voice work, it's hours and hours of recording. What do you do? Like, how do you maintain your voice? How do you keep from losing it, whether you're having to, yell something 20 times or just record over and over for hours? What do you sort of do to keep your voice healthy?
To keep your voice healthy, if there's anything strenuous, they usually save that until the end of the day, like the last hour or so.
Okay.
Happens mostly in video games because video games contain a lot of efforts, a lot of getting killed, killing other people, screaming, getting electrocuted. They save
Yeah.
that till like the last bit, and then my voice gets very sensitive, so I'll have to either not schedule work or auditions the next day if it's heavy. But there are tools. I worked with a few voiceover directors, or they're singers, and they tell you how to you know scream from your diaphragm instead of the back of your throat. And
Right.
there's small techniques that you can do.
And do you have anything that sticks out to you? I know a lot of fans love to make videos, especially Goofy Movie, love to
Yes.
make reenact
Oh yeah.
scenes, movies.
Yeah.
Any one that sticks out to you that like, oh my gosh, this one video or social media I saw was just so fun.
Uh, well, the most recently, these guys in Arizona who had done a shot-for-shot remake of After Today
Yeah.
about 10 years ago, they invited me and Bill to play ourselves in a shot-for-shot live-action Lester's Possum Park sequence.
It's hilarious. I watched it.
Yeah, isn't it fantastic? We were completely upstaged by the CG. I mean, like the guy, I'm horrible at names, and he deserves to be recognized. But for your listeners, to please look this up on
I'll
YouTube.
link it. I'll link it
Yeah,
in so everyone
yeah,
sees
it's
it.
it's it's outstanding. Like just like movie quality CG, and there's also a cameo from our director Kevin Lima in the beginning, who's the Pat Butchum character.
Yeah.
Now the possum posse's here, bam, and he hits the thing, makes all the animatronics go. That was pretty outstanding. And then on TikTok, like there's like so many people dressed as Powerline doing
Yeah.
Powerline reenactments. It's crazy. You work on something, you never think it's gonna be a hit. You don't know how people are gonna react to it.
Yeah.
I've worked on stuff where I'm like, this is gonna make my career. Nothing happens. And then you work on something like a Goofy movie or Hocus Pocus, which was received well when it comes out, but then a decade later, it's blown up into huge proportions.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if while working on a Goofy movie, if you had the sense that you're like, "Hey, this is gonna be, like, really great," or you had that feeling? Because I know when it came out, like, I remember seeing it and thinking like, "Oh, a movie with Goofy?" Like, I don't know, it was so different
Mhm.
from the movies Disney
Sure,
had put
sure.
out, but then you watch it and all these years later, you're like, "This movie is like such a classic, it's so funny," and I'm just curious, like, when you worked on it, if you were like, "This is gonna be, like, great," if you could really sort of see that big picture for it.
Yes, I mean, I can't predict the future, but I definitely recognize what we were doing was special. It
Yeah.
was different. Um, Kevin Lima was took such good care of the story, better than anything. It was different than more than anything I'd ever worked on. And what kind of really solidified how it was to me is when we saw it all cut together and all the animation was done, and people ask me what's my favorite scene, and this is my answer, and it sounds silly, but I always say the scene with Goofy and Pete in the hot tub together,
Yeah.
because it's just two dads talking about their
Yeah.
sons. It's a very grounded conversation, and not something you'd ever expect in an animated movie, much less a movie called a Goofy movie.
Right.
So yeah, and the music, all that stuff. Yeah, it was. We knew it was pretty special.
Did you get to hear the music before? Like, had you heard songs beforehand, or were not privy to
I don't
that?
think I heard the Powerline songs, any of the Tevin Campbell songs. I definitely heard the uh, uh, After Today and Nobody Else But You. I heard those beforehand.
Okay.
Yeah,
You can't see and people won't see, but I'm wearing my Powerline
I
T-shirt.
see it. I recognize that
The
soft serve
hairdo.
ice cream head
Yeah,
of
the
his. Yes.
soft serve hair ice cream head. All right, so some questions for you.
Yes.
Do you remember or do you have what's your favorite Disney film? Do you have a favorite Disney film?
Yes. I saw Aladdin 8 times in the theater. It just
Nice.
blew me away. The look of it, the music. I love Robin Williams. It just like the colors, everything was like a perfect storm for me. It's perfect.
Do you go to the Disney parks? Do you have a favorite like Disneyland, Disney World, anything like that?
Yes, when I was living in, I live in Nashville, Tennessee now. But when I lived in LA, I would go to Disneyland all the time, and Disney World at least once or twice a year. And I'm actually going to be going next month. I'm going to take my girlfriend for her birthday. My son doesn't know it, but I'm going to take him before Christmas. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, I love it. I love it's gotten to the point where I go so much I don't even care about the rides. I just like being there.
right.
They talk about that Disney magic. Like I just like being and people watching and looking at
Yeah.
the everything that the Imagineers construct.
Well, I was gonna ask you next, like, what's your must do if you go? Like, what's a ride you have to do every time?
Oh well, in Disneyland, California, it's got to be the Indiana Jones and the Temple of the Forbidden Eye,
Yeah.
which I love, love, love. I love Indiana Jones. And in Walt Disney World, my favorite ride is the Carousel of Progress.
Oh, nice. Unexpected answer.
It's the first ride I ever went on the first visit I ever went my first ever Disney World visit in like 1995, 94, 95,
Yeah.
and it just stuck. I love it, and I'm glad it's still there. But I love now I go because I'm an adult now. I go for the food and wine fest
Oh,
at
right.
Epcot.
At
Yes.
Epcot. Now, if you could go as one of your characters you played for Halloween, which would be the character you would want to go as?
Well, I've gone as Binx. It's just easy. I put on a black suit and tie and some cat ears and paint some
Okay.
whiskers on me. I've done that a couple times. I don't know if I could do Max. I would want to like see if I can collaborate with uh, a really talented costume maker and make like a Disneyland quality mask.
Oh, okay. So
Yes, yeah,
full out
yeah, yeah.
Max.
Maybe
I
it's
love that.
articulated. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. All right. So if you were going to be one of the witches from Hocus Pocus, which Hocus Pocus witch are you?
Oh, I'd be Winifred, of course. Just
Winifred.
yes, just the best personality. We have the same sort of personality, I think. If I'm short fused, you know, uh, you know, sort of the lead. I would be the leader of the group.
Yeah.
I would be the Mo to the Larry and Curly. That's what I would be. I'd
I
be the
love that.
Groucho.
Well, I was going to ask, we were talking about you being Winifred.
Yes.
Did did you get to ever interact with Bette Midler at all since you didn't really work? Did you ever meet her?
No, I was too intimidated. I saw her a bunch,
Right.
and I don't know. She's so. I mean, she's the divine Miss M. And I part of me feels like I don't belong in my own industry because I hold celebrities on such
Right.
high pedestals, and I don't know. I just got in my mind that she's at work. Maybe she doesn't want to be bothered. I don't know what I could have offered to the conversation. So I would see her. We would lock eyes, and but that's about it. I've not met her since. I have not met Sarah Jessica Parker, but she like left a note for me on my. She came in to do some ADR, and I just missed her. I think she left a note for me, or I left a note for her,
Yeah.
and she responded. And then I met Kathy Najimy at some conventions recently.
You also were a voice in the Gummy Bears
Yes.
cartoon,
Yeah,
which
first
is
ever cartoon. Yeah.
amazing show and amazing theme song. I think one of the
Yes.
best theme songs. But who do you think has the better theme song? The Gummy Bears theme song or Powerline's Eye to Eye?
Oh, come on. Come
It's hard.
on.
I don't know. I
Gummy
don't know how to
bears.
pick.
Yeah, I mean they're both sort of different sort of feels to it. I don't know if they could even put them in the same category.
Yeah.
That's an unfair question, Ryan.
I know it's unfair. I can't answer it either. Depends on what you want to listen to or in the mood for, but I think I'd lean to Powerline. Just it's very,
Yes, yeah,
feel
yeah.
good.
I wouldn't play Gummy Bears in the Club. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Maybe a remix. I don't know.
Maybe.
So tell us about, I know you have the Mars Variety Show. So
Yes.
tell us about that and tell us, where we can follow you, find you. But yeah, I want everyone to know about the Mars Variety Show because it's really cool.
Thank you for asking. Yes, the Mars Variety Show is a variety show inspired by the similar shows of the '60s and '70s, and it's designed to showcase independent musicians and comedians here in Nashville and beyond. Focused mostly on Nashville because that's where they're easily accessible. I'm the host of it, and it was something I started when I had moved to Nashville. I had quickly become friends with a lot of local musicians and comedians, and it kind of started out as just a luxury for my 40th birthday. I threw myself a variety show, and I was the Dean Martin. I was the host,
Yeah.
and I got the space, and I invited musicians and comedians and artists, and it kind of put them all in this space, and just made this, like, I call it a relentless night of entertainment because it never stopped. Like when something was happening on stage, that's done. Lights out stage, lights up at the
Yeah.
bar. There's a sketch at the bar. That's done. Lights out bar, lights up stage right. And there's something going on over there. And then lights up in the audience. And I'm in the audience working the crowd. And people loved it. And they kept asking me to keep doing it. And it just sort of evolved into me doing one-off shows. And I tried to make a pilot for it. And then during COVID I felt, I think people will be forgiving if a lot of performances are selfied. So
Yeah.
I did it like that, but now things are opening up, and I'm trying to make it more feel like a real TV show. My background's television, so that's I'm kind of presenting to local musicians who I feel are amazing, who they pour their guts out on a stage here for like six people, but I'm like, no, you guys need to be seen. Like, you guys have talent. The least I could do is introduce them to my audience and hope that they kind of glom onto that as well. And it's on YouTube. You can see it on YouTube right now. I got a new episode. I don't know when you're releasing this episode of us talking, but the whole three seasons will be on YouTube. Just go to the Mars Presents channel there, and please hit the subscribe button. That's what helps the most.
Yeah, subscribe. And I love that you are doing that and using your own sort of celebrity platform to bring in these
Sure.
local and put people in front of other people that, like you said, they play for six people, they deserve to play for 6,000 million
Yes.
people,
Yes.
like
Yes.
it's
Yes.
so great that you're doing that and it's nice and refreshing because not everybody does. So I love that you're kind of using your worldly experience and helping rise other people up. So
Thanks,
it's
man.
really
It's
great.
a pleasure. I love it. It's funny you say that, introducing to my audience, because you know when I go on, I'll go my routine when a new episode premieres is I'll go on TikTok or Instagram Live and talk to my fan base who are following me specifically because of like Goofy Movie or
Right.
Hocus Pocus or '90s television, and I'll talk to them about the Mars Variety Show, or like, look at this musician, and they're not really interested. They want to hear the voice. They want to do this. So I have to kind of like, all right, I'll do the voice. I'll answer whatever question you want, but please come over here, check this person out. So it's a little bit of a give and take. I
Yeah.
have found that a lot of people enjoy it, and the feedback is like, oh, thanks. I would never have heard of this musician if it wasn't for you, and I'm now following this artist because of the Mars Variety Show. So
Yeah.
it's fun, and I'm happy to give people to answer trivia questions, or do the voices if it helps these talented musos here. It's
Yeah.
it's no sweat.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's so wonderful. Now, where can people find you on social media?
I am on the Instagram at Jason Marsden. I'm on the TikTok. I think it's official Jason Marsden or Jason Marsden official, and I'm on Twitter. But I interact mostly on Instagram. Like, if people can DM me there, and I try to get to everyone. Um, Asking direct questions is the best way to get a
Right.
response from me. Uh, but that's where I like to interact the most.
Oh, I love it. Well, yeah, I'm gonna ask everyone to follow you, follow the Mars Variety Show, rewatch Hocus Pocus, Goofy Movie, any '90s TV because you're basically in the whole '90s television era.
Yes.
And I want to thank you for taking the time to talk about, especially Hocus Pocus and Goofy Movie, because two of my favorites.
Right on, Ryan.
You're a wonderful person, love what you're doing,
Thank you.
and thank you. And I hope you have a happy Halloween as well.
And you too, sir.
Thanks for listening, everybody. I loved interviewing Mars, talking about Goofy Movie, Hocus Pocus. It was so great to hear what he had to say about working on those films. Also loved the Mars Variety Show. So great. Please check it out on YouTube. Follow Mars on Instagram, all your social media. And don't forget, subscribe to the Mars Variety Show, but subscribe to Disney Inside Out Podcasts for more fun interviews like this. Rate review on Apple Podcasts. I love to read the reviews. And we'll see you real soon.